is, well, I a huge assortment of shapes, sizes, and styles, like the easy-to-assemble Jackson
Grand Rising, Grand Rising. Welcome to Boricua in Utah. Enjoy this live drive from Brigham to Layton. Will be my stop.
At Navy Federal Credit Union, every day is Veterans Day. Navy Federal serves more than 2 million veterans by providing the support they need to succeed financially. They offer members exclusive rates, discounts, and perks. 45% of their employees are directly tied to the military, so Navy Federal understands the needs of veterans they serve. Right, and Navy Federal donates to not-for-profits focused on veterans like The Mission Continues and Rebuilding Together. Remember that active duty veterans and their families can join Navy Federal. Learn more at NavyFederal.org/veterans. Navy Federal is insured by NCUA.
At Smith's, shop Coke brand products for all your favorite foods this holiday season. Because our proven quality products come at exceptionally low prices. And with a money-back quality guarantee, every dish is sure to be a favorite. From sweet sugar cookies and holiday hams to a rich slice of pie. Whether you shop delivery, pickup, or in-store, our brand has all your favorite favorites. Smith's, fresh for everyone.
Welcome to the iHeartRadio and Coast to Coast AM Paranormal Podcast Network. Now get ready for strange things with Joshua P. Lane.
The thoughts and opinions expressed by the host reflect their opinions only and do not necessarily reflect those of iHeartMedia, iHeartRadio, Coast to Coast AM, employees and career networks, sponsors, and associates. You are encouraged to do the proper amount of research yourself, depending on the subject matter and your needs.
Hi, my name is Joshua P. Warren, and each week on this show, I'll be bringing you brand new and a lot more on this edition of the show, Beware the Dark Side, and a Portal update. Yeah, some new thoughts on that. Okay, Beware the Dark Side. You know I wrote a book called Use the Force, so I'm sort of wording it based upon that. You can read that book for free if you go and click the link to the cover on my website. This is my first podcast of the year 2024. I know this sounds like an ominous topic, but it's actually a very positive topic because I'm giving you a heads up and an opportunity to start preparing your mind for some of the things you will be dealing with this year so that you can participate in manifesting the best possible outcome for all of us. All of us listening to this show right now. Maybe not everybody in the world, but we will be fine. Now, I make a point of not talking about politics on this show, and it's going to remain that way. However, we simply cannot ignore that this is a year when a U.S. presidential election is supposed to take place. And as many a pundit has said, politics is war. This year is going to be especially tumultuous for most of the entire world. And that's why, regardless of your politics, you need to be prepared to start seeing clearly what's happening around you and how to protect yourself spiritually and manifest a positive outcome for you and your loved ones. But before I get into that subject, I just want to say, hey, I had a great holiday, and I hope all of you did as well. You know, here's something funny that crossed my mind on New Year's Eve that I want share with you real quick. I remember years ago when I began studying radionics and psionics and emission machines and all that, I had read about an experiment where a group of people got together and they took a radionics machine and they took an unopened bottle of liquor, and this is just like a wishing machine, but they put the unopened bottle of liquor on the input plate of the wishing machine. And then on the output plate, they put just a glass, actually, I guess it was a bottle or a glass of pure water. And they let it sit there and charge all day long. Basically, they tuned the machine so that the energy of the alcoholic beverage is supposed to go into the input plate and then going out to the output plate into the water. And then after they let this charge for a while, they all drank the water and claimed that they felt intoxicated. And, on New Year's Eve, there are a lot of people going out and probably partying and stuff and they shouldn't be because they've had too much to drink. And you know what? I have just never actually tried that experiment, but it occurred to me, maybe some of you should do that. And just let me know if you think there's anything to it. Could you actually drink water? Meaning that you're not going to have any alcohol in your system, but get a little buzz out of it somehow. We'll call it radionic buzz water. If you want to try that, please do let me know. I think I'm finally going to do it myself. I just haven't gotten around to it. You'd think of all things, that's something I would do. But yeah, don't open the alcohol now. This is an experiment for adults, but still, don't open the alcohol. All you're doing is sending the energy from the alcohol into the water, and then later you drink the water and see if you feel anything. So that might be a fun way to drink when you don't need to get the alcohol in your system. All right, so now back to the main topic. I am always giving you tips on how to manifest the things you want in different ways. This started with looking into how paranormal phenomena manifest, and now it's expanded into how you can manifest all kinds of different things. And I'm always sharing these kind of success stories with you, but I want you to think about something that, I don't know, maybe you've heard me talk about this before. When I was living in Puerto Rico, and I lived there for a full 5 years and loved every minute of it. The only reason I stopped spending time there was because the storms and the earthquakes and stuff were kicked up, and it just became too inconvenient to live there, frankly. The infrastructure was not sound. And in Puerto Rico, I became a huge fan of some of their food. Nobody I've ever met can make chicken better than a Puerto Rican chef. And I used to eat these things called pinchos all the time, which is just, it's like a sushi kebab. It's a kebab with chicken pieces and barbecue sauce on it. They just make it so good and flavorful. And some of their pre-cooked prepared pork, and there's a lot of food that I enjoy there. But it was difficult to find some of my favorite sort of homeland American staples there, because granted, Puerto Rico is a part of the United States, but they have a very distinctive culture. And one of the things that you may or may not know about me is that I'm a huge fan together, and we just had our own Philly cheesesteak tour in Philadelphia, where we just went around for a few days. We just hit all the top shops to figure out what steak we like the best. And I believe, now this has been years ago, this has been almost 10 years ago, I think we decided we liked Jim's the best. Some of you are going to love me for saying that, some of you are going to hate me, and hopefully I'm remembering that correctly. But anyway, I love Philly cheesesteaks. But for health reasons, I generally, if I'm going to eat one, I'll eat a chicken Philly cheesesteak. And after a while, being in Puerto Rico for a year or so, I started kind of craving a Philly cheesesteak. And I'm not that good of a chef or a cook myself to make my own Philly cheesesteak. So I started telling Lauren how much I wanted to have a good place where we could buy a Philly cheesesteak in Boca Raton, Puerto Rico. Now, I'm not even talking San Juan here where all the cruise ships are, right? I'm talking in a remote place on the other side of the island. Relatively remote compared to what the average tourist would think. And within 30 days, literally right outside of my little gated complex, there was a small building that had a real estate agency. And the real estate agency moved out, and all of a sudden, it transformed into a Philly cheesesteak restaurant. This is one of the most shocking things that I've ever manifested, because I wasn't even trying that hard. I just thought about it a lot. This guy had moved down from New England, somewhere in that area, and he knew how to make some of the best Philly cheesesteaks. He was married to a Puerto Rican woman, and he and his kids, they moved down, and he opened up, and I'm telling you, when I say this is beside my house, I feel like I could open my door and walk over there in less than a minute. And so I go in there, I make fast friends with the guy who owns this place, and his cheesesteaks were just, I'm telling you, they were absolutely superb. I could not believe I had manifested this. So then I would go in there and I'd be like, well, I'll buy a cheesesteak for now, and then I'll buy a cheesesteak for later. And then once I he'd be like, well, you sure you don't want to just make 3? And we'd sit there and talk. And next thing you know, I would walk into this Philly cheesesteak store, and I'm walking out the door with a bag of like 6 giant Philly cheesesteaks. And this is when I realized that there was a bad side to my manifestation. Because as much as I love Philly cheesesteaks, to the extent that I was able to create this positive thing that I love and manifest it outside my door, I soon realized now it's unhealthy for me to eat Philly cheesesteaks all the time. I mean, for a lot of reasons. My father's had heart attacks and a stroke, and I'm not getting any better, and so I got to try to be healthier as I get older. And yet I want to keep this guy in business, and now I find that I've kind of, painted myself into a corner. Is that the right word? Because I manifested this thing that I absolutely was just thrilled by. But then I couldn't indulge in it how I wanted to. It was tempting me, and I realized that maybe it's not a good thing to have a Philly cheesesteak shop right next to your front door. And there is a very strange twist ending, I think, to this Philly cheesesteak story. And I'm going to get to that when we come back from this break. And then I'm going to tell you how this applies to my big topic. Beware of the dark side. Being careful about what you manifest. I guess you could say careful what you wish for. And then, we're going to lead into portals. There's so much to talk about. And you know what? Sometimes I need to contact you immediately. And the only way that I can contact you immediately is if you are a subscriber of my free e-newsletter. Because when I record this podcast, I record it, it gets edited, it gets sent to a couple places, commercials get added in, it gets uploaded. So you get it days after it's been recorded. I can sit down right now and write anything I want on my computer and hit enter, and boom, you'll get an email within seconds from me. And that's how I keep you right on the edge, the cutting edge of all the new cool things that you might want to participate in, freebies I'm giving away, experiments. Go to joshuapwarren.com right now. On the homepage, you'll see a section there that says, sign up for Joshua's free e-newsletter. Put your email address in there, hit the submit button, and not only will you be subscribed, but you're also going to receive some cool links to some free online goodies from me. joshuapwarren.com. I am Joshua P. Warren, and you're listening to Strange Things on the iHeartRadio and Coast to Coast AM Paranormal Podcast Network. And I will be right back.
It's cloudy.
Hey folks, we need your music. Hey, it's producer Tom at Coast to Coast AM.
Looks like a cloudy day. I can't see it. Probably looks dark.
or call 1-800-RED-CROSS.
Welcome back to Strange Things on iHeartRadio and Coast Radio Paranormal Podcast Network. I am your host, the Wizard of the Air, Joshua P. Warren, beaming in your wormhole brain from my studio in Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada, where every day is golden and every night is silver. I'm Gianotto Zume. You know what? For the holidays, I always tell people, the thought is so nice, but don't even try to buy me a gift, because for one thing, if I want something, I just buy it myself, and secondly, I like stuff that's so weird that you're just probably not going to ever find something that really connects with me, so don't waste your money. However, having said that, I will tell you that my friend Jason Sarachi, the great UFO videographer, he actually built something at his home workshop and brought it over and said, I made this for you, and it is one of the wildest orgone accumulators I've ever seen. And of course, in my curiosity shop, I have the Master Manifestor kit. I think that's probably long sold out by now. But anyway, it has the orgone accumulator in it. And he built this very elaborate thing. It looks kind of like an octopus, where in the middle there's this big, large jar, which is an orgone accumulator, and then there are all these smaller jars around it with cables connecting everything together. And it's got all kinds of different components and that generator, and we were shooting lightning all over the place. So very energizing in many ways. You know, it's super cool. I'll try to post some pictures of that online at some point on my social media. Of course, my Twitter or Facebook. Thank you, Jason. You nailed that one for me. Well, okay, back to my story about the Philly cheesesteaks. All right, so I didn't realize that it was great to have this manifestation come true, but that it was kind of, also scary because I can't eat Philly cheesesteaks every day. And so what ultimately happened is I must have been the main guy keeping this restaurant in business, because they didn't let at the time in. And so DoorDash and Uber Eats, all this stuff makes it so easy to food deliver. And when I first moved over here, at one point I checked out the Philly cheesesteak options, and there wasn't much, frankly. And I found one place that's, like 10 minutes away that I think had pretty decent ones. And then Jersey Mike's has some really good ones. But not the ones that are just like dead on authentic Philly that I'm used to. And then I started mentioning that to Mark. You'd think there'd be a better Philly cheesesteak option somewhere closer to our house. I don't know why I did this over again. And guess what? Just a few minutes from my house, about 2 weeks ago, yep, one of the best Philly cheesesteak restaurants I've ever seen in my life opened. Basically right next to my house again. I go, yeah, I did it again. Oh man, so now it's willpower and self-control. That's how strong of a manifestor I've got. So it actually, again, could turn out bad. Where I'm like, not like I'm in a position where I can't resist a Philly cheesesteak, but still. The moral of that story is that even if you become a great manifestor, a very effective one, you can still sabotage yourself if you don't think very carefully about what happens when you get what you wish for. And in Las Vegas, let me tell you, we've got it all here 24/7. If you have a weakness, this city will eventually find it. So you can only live here if you have a reasonable amount of willpower and self-control. Since I've been here for 5 years, people are like, you're good. A lot of people don't even make it a year before they spiral out of control. And force and how that process kind of works. And here's what he said. This is an actual quote. He's on video saying, quote, "It's about good and evil within us. governments as well as our institutions. Some think we're really great people, but in the real world, we're not. We're terrible people. You run your life in a very selfish way, and you think you're doing good when you actually are not. And how do democracies turn back into dictatorships? Why do people who have the power to have freedom turn it over to somebody who's going to take it away from them? This happens through history forever and ever. Watch out, because there are people out there who don't play by the rules. And if you're not careful, you're going to lose all your freedom. Those people who do not play by the rules turn themselves into people who are selfish and greedy because they're evil people who don't care about other people. End quote.
I care about.
So I'm reading that to you because sometimes you think you know what is good. And you create it. You manifest it. And then you see that actually it's not necessarily so good in the long run. The Philly cheesesteak place next to my house seemed like a wonderful thing. But now I'm tempted to eat unhealthy food even more. So you have to be very careful about the fantasy that seems good in some idealistic part of your brain versus what happens in reality. There is no utopia on this earth in which everyone constantly exists in a state of eternal bliss. And anyone who tries to sell you on that idea is trying to lure you into a trap. In my book, Use the Force, I talk about how basic advertising works. You say to somebody, hey, you have a problem. It's probably a problem you didn't even realize you had. But now that you know that you have it, because I told you so, let me sell you the solution. And so politicians and some of the media that operate as propaganda are constantly telling you that you have a problem. And more often than not, they're saying that your problem is this other person over here. And that, my friends, is called divide and conquer. And that technique is perhaps the most powerful technique for mind control in the history of humanity. And the internet age makes it easier than ever to divide us into our own little compartments so that we are collectively weaker. Instead of standing up for our common ground, we destroy each other and do the dirty work ourselves. We do it for them. Sometimes people ask me about angels and demons, good and evil. I'm asked, what is evil? And I say that evil is absolute selfishness, just doing whatever it is that makes you happy without consideration for the other person.
Trying to make everyone else.
There's another word for that. It's called narcissism. And we all know that word, but let's look up the definition. What is narcissism exactly? It says narcissism is a self-centered personality style characterized as having an excessive preoccupation with oneself and one's own needs, often at the expense of others. Historically, that term goes back to a poet in Rome. He wrote, in year 8 CE about this handsome young man. This is a mythical story of a handsome young man named Narcissus who spurns the advances of many potential lovers. And when he rejects this nymph named Echo, who by the way was cursed to only echo the sounds that others made, the gods punish Narcissus by making him fall in love with his own reflection in a pool of water. When Narcissus discovers that the object of his love cannot love him back, he slowly pines away and dies. But in the real world, narcissists don't usually fade away or pine away. Instead, they become even more outlandish and reckless. And because of the age of social media, we now have the most narcissistic society that has ever existed on the face of planet Earth. And that means there is an inherent threat lurking there. And it has come upon us with lightning speed. It's easy to take advantage of a narcissist because they are so given to concepts of flattery and feelings of self-righteousness. In my house, I recently, over the holiday season, I shot a video showing some of the weird things that I collect that are on display currently in my house. And I sent out a newsletter about that. If you didn't get to watch the video, it's about a half hour long. You can go to YouTube and just type in Joshua P. Warren. You'll find it on my YouTube channel. And by the way, I do not monetize my YouTube channel, so it's easy to find. I have a life mask of Christopher Reeve because I'm a big Superman fan. I have a life mask of Jack Nicholson. Of course, he played the Joker. I love so many of his roles. But I have a third life mask, and it's not of an actor. It's of a real person. It's a life mask made of George Washington, the first president of this country, and the only president who was ever elected unanimously as president. When we come back, I want to tell you something that George Washington said that we should all think about. And then I'm going to wrap up this whole thing about what you need to do as you beware the dark side. You can have the most positive experience possible. Then we're going to get into new thoughts on interdimensionals, portals. People toss these words around all the time. But what does it mean, practically speaking? Well, I'm going to see if I can give you a model to work with that makes a little more sense. I'm Joshua P. Warren. You're listening to Strange Things on the iHeartRadio and Coast to Coast AM Paranormal Podcast Network. And I will be back after these important messages.
My name is Mark Robbins, president of ParanormalDate.com. Over 5 years ago, George Norrie approached me with a unique concept, a dating site for people searching for someone with interests in UFOs, ghosts, Bigfoot, conspiracy theories, and the paranormal. From that, ParanormalDate.com was born. It's a unique site for unique people. And it's free to join to look around. If you want to upgrade and enjoy more of our great features, use promo code GEORGE for a great discount. So check it out. You got nothing to lose. ParanormalDate.com.
Celebrate Thanksgiving with unbeatable savings at Macy's. Right now, get your frozen turkey for only 69 cents per pound when you spend $50 or more. Stock up on all your holiday essentials, from fresh produce and pantry staples to your favorite sides and desserts. Whether you're hosting a big family gathering or an intimate feast, Macy's has everything you need to make Thanksgiving memorable. Stop by today and enjoy incredible savings on the perfect holiday meal. Only at Macy's. Macy's, happy shopping.
Oh, I hate this guy.
Luckily for you, Big O Tires is involved.
Such a
We have all
big
the main
thug.
trust for any vehicle on any road condition. They'll keep your vehicle running smooth with expert services on things like alignments, shocks, struts, batteries, brakes, and more. Get into your locally owned Big O Tires, the team you trust. Take us with you anywhere. This is the iHeartRadio and Coast to Coast AM Paranormal Podcast Network.
Celebrate Thanksgiving with unbeatable savings at Macy's. Right now, get your frozen turkey for only 69 cents per pound when you spend $50 or more. Stock up on all your holiday essentials, from fresh produce and pantry staples to your favorite sides and desserts. Whether you're hosting a big family gathering or an intimate feast, Macy's has everything you need to make Thanksgiving memorable. Stop by today and enjoy incredible savings on the perfect holiday meal. Only at Macy's. Macy's, happy shopping.
Macy's.
Hey everyone, it's producer Tom of Coast to Coast AM, and more of the Wizard and Weird starts right now.
Unless I have to go get groceries. I made it.
Welcome back to Strange Things on the iHeartRadio and Coast to Coast AM Paranormal Podcast Network. I'm your host, Joshua P. Warren, and this is the show where the unusual becomes usual. Yeah. Good old
Unusual
General
becomes
George
usual.
Washington, a man who seemed to be maybe blessed with some divine protection throughout his whole life. I mean, trust me, the guy had a rough life, but he was in battle after battle where men were falling left and right all around him, and he would have bullets that would pass through his jacket and stuff, but he was unharmed. And I know that some terrible flaws, and they were lived as hypocrites in many cases. But at least they went out and fought and created a foundation where future generations could come in and correct their mistakes. And when I just what a dramatic place where the idea of freedom could exist. And when George Washington delivered his farewell address, he said something very interesting: political parties and how dangerous they are. This is the last thing he wanted to leave us with. This is an actual quote from him that I found on his official library, mountvernon.org. His farewell address was given on Saturday, September 17th of 1796, and he said, quote, "However political parties may now and then answer popular ends, they are likely, in the course of time and things, to become potent engines by which cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men will be enabled to subvert the power of the people and to usurp for themselves the reins of government, destroying afterwards the very engines which have lifted them to unjust dominion." End quote. Did you get that?
No.
He's warning everybody that if we become so polarized that we have to fit into these little boxes that are called political parties, yes, they may get some stuff done that's popular, but the political party structure inherently is corruptible, and that if we're not very careful about just strictly saying, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, I'm an independent, I'm a Green Party, I'm a libertarian. If you're not open to looking at individuals as opposed to just going strictly down the line, then you are possibly giving fuel to this engine that can become a monster that gets out of control and become more like an oligarchy. And a lot of these politicians, they know that the best way to achieve power is, divide and conquer. So you have to make sure, if you beware the dark side,
Divide and conquer.
and the people like George Lucas was describing, do not believe in the divide and conquer propaganda. The only thing that can destroy darkness is light. So you have to be a shining light. And don't buy into these manifestations of unreal and media pundits. Whoever you support this year, make sure you support someone who believes in free speech and who does the least amount of talking about things that divide us. There is no perfect person for you to elect, and I know it's often a choice of the lesser of two evils, but let me repeat that one more time. Support people who believe in free speech and who do think about the things that divide us. This past holiday season, my wife Lauren and I, we ran all over Las Vegas, Nevada, day and night, and we would constantly interact with strangers from all over the world, and everyone was so nice and respectful toward each other. You'd think it was a small town. People were being patient, they were wishing each other well, they were smiling. And then you look at the news, and it's all about hatred and fighting and violence.
That's why I don't watch the news.
So here is what you must remember this year and always, as beware of the dark side. You are a manifester. Right now, you have no choice. You are born a manifester. You are manifesting every moment of every day. The question becomes, what do you want to manifest? Well, it depends on how you train your thoughts and shift your focus and attention.
Oh, delete. This is where I'm gonna turn off. Gee. God. Trying to say till the next time, y'all. Everybody have a wonderful day. See you later tonight.